like 1 minute early. Oh, oh. So I will just patiently wait when the aspirant till the aspirants show up. I'm grateful for this platform in spite of not being how to make things run smoothly, but I'm grateful. I will be consistent and persistent. So I'm just looking forward to everything coming together because I truly believe in obedience is the key to make things manifested. So looking forward to getting things resolved. It just requires patience. Oh, greetings. Greetings, Baramana Bahava. I'm glad to see you can make it back and join us. Um, and I was just waiting on a few more aspirants to show up. But you know what? It's like our prayer should always be if you just can reach one, it's worth all the endeavors. So I'm glad you're here, Varamana. Still feel like I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but Bahava, Brahmana, 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 Baba. Greetings, V. Hendricks. Welcome back. I'm glad to see you made it. And Delicate Liz, you're back. So like, yeah, and I'm glad to see that you all made it back. It's like my what do you call it? My little couple of minute relapse, like short term memory. I was like, did I say 9 or 9:30? Well, let me just go on and open up for 9. It's better early than late. So I'm glad to see you all made it. Well, I was trying to utilize the information was given to me so I can take phone calls, but that still has not yet been accomplished. Greetings, little sister. Peace, love, and light unto you, Queen, as well. Thank you for being here today. Well, this evening, tonight. I don't know what time it is where you all are located, but it's 9:02 here. And I appreciate you all um, being here in support of what it is that I'm called, chosen, and sent to do to share among our minds to be back on the mind of the divine. I'm grateful. So it just gives me more time tomorrow to stay to try to utilize. Now I do supposed to have like I have a schedule at 11 a.m. to do my free conference calls. Um, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it because I'm trying to figure out a way to actually connect the free conference call and combine it with YouTube. That way, those who are online, they can call in, and it's got to be a way that they can interact with one another. So I'm actually going to get up trying to do that. And excuse me. And if I don't accomplish it, then I'll just be back tomorrow evening. Um, Sometime tomorrow and try to do it this way because I actually um, like it better this way. But then again, on the free conference call, people can actually, um, I can hear their voices. Like when I open up the mic, I can actually hear you all's voices. So I'm actually going to call them tomorrow and see if they can tell me how to utilize Facebook live streaming or vice versa, but so they can interact with one another. Okay, so I actually did do an opening proclamation and salutation, but that was what, an hour and a half ago. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging the divine throne that grants us the divine protection, provision, counsel, and comfort. So uh, I'm going to um, do another one just in case. Is anyone else buffering? Oh, are you buffering, delicate lace? Cause see, I don't know what's going on with you all's end, but my end is fine so far. Um, it's a shame that you have to deal with that, delicate lace. Hopefully, it clear up soon. Okay, is anybody else having buffering issues? You can hear me. You can see me. Mm, okay, so I'm going to say the prayer, the proclamation. Can you all still see me? Um, V. Hendrick, you said no. You couldn't see me for a second there, or are you saying no? You're not having any buffering issue. Can hear and see you. Okay, so you're not having any buff. Little sister says everything is good for you. Okay. Well, it might be the location. Maybe there's some interference where you're sitting or wherever you are. Delicate lace. Hopefully, it'll clear up for you soon if it hasn't already cleared up for you. Okay. So I ask our everlasting, eternal, divine parent spirit to come before us as her children and greet our needs for help in the transition. So I have we have, some of us may have physical health needs, emotional needs. We all have spiritual needs because we've been attuned with the true divine vine that we're supposed to be connected to in order to be divinely fruitful. And we're grateful that the Divine Mother has awakening our minds so we can truly see and perceive, and awaken our ears so we can truly hear and understand, and make that personal connection, divine connection unto our everlasting and eternal parents. Many of our problems have been caused by our own failures, neglect, or basically disobedience. But she has a seat of mercy and a seat of grace um, to give us a grace spirit and show her loving and merciful kindness, which creates a situation of mercy, because she knows that a lot of information has been kept from her children, but there is no excuse now because everything that has been hidden is now being revealed, and everything that's been kept secret is now being manifest, and for which we humbly ask her forgiveness, and we also ask for her to forgive our disobedience that was came before us through our ancestors, who has also failed, and may they have their actions has left their effect on us um, in the form of unwanted tendencies and negative behaviors and patterns and predispositions toward our divine minds. So we ask her to heal us from all of these disorders, strongholds, and stumbling blocks as she collectively and strategically revealed them to us through various um, people of her choice to deliver this message for iron sharpen iron and to be our guide, our spirit guides. And with her help, that we will surely be forgiven, and everyone living and that's been here, that's still here and still yet to come, that our family lineage, be purified so we can leave a divine legacy. Um, Also, that we have directly, if we have directly offended any of our loved ones in any way, um, are those who have sinned against us or rivaled against us, and resulted in like this present suffering and disorders that we're dealing with. In the name of our divine self, because we need not to have a mediator, nor a moderator, nor a narrator. We are the direct seed of the life giver, the life sustainer, and the life reclaimer. So we do not, this is not a religious platform, it's a spiritual one. And in sincerity, spirit, and in truth, we know that we are have a direct connection with our creatress, creator, and we can come in our own name, just like the law as it is above, so it is beneath. You don't send your sisters, brothers, aunties, uncles, or any third party in to speak for you when you have a divine birthright connection straight to your parents. Unless you have a low self esteem, that will not be for eternity, because when you learn better, we can do better. So I ask our divine everlasting parent that she continue to um, let us be the head and not the tail, that we now be the leaders and not the followers, and that we get in positions to be the lenders and not the borrowers, and that we recognize that we come from above and not beneath, and in our family lineage, that it would be maintained and sustained. And we ask our everlasting parents, let the cleansing blood of our ancestors who had suffered tremendously in the land of their captivity, of their colonizers, in their fake democracy and fake diplomacy, under the banner of the patriotic colonizers and their sodomite society. So I ask our everlasting parent to continue to replace all bondage in our family and lineage, with a bonding, holy family love in between us as we unite together in the same mind, the same body, in the same spirit for the same purpose, and the same destiny and legacy. And may there be an ever deeper bonding within us and for us as we glorify our everlasting parent, who has the power, and because of her divine wisdom, unto her children, as we are the apple of her eye. Let our family continue to pervade the tender warmth and loving presence of her divine attributes as they continue to cover us and lead us and guide us, and that our relationship soars high and we continue to be fruitful and grateful. And in my name, and each one says their own name, if the words coming forth from my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable unto the divine spirit, may her light shine upon our feet and upon our path. And when we acknowledge her in all that we do, that she would direct our path and blissfully opened up the windows of the universe and poured us out blessings that we may not have room enough to receive, but she make room enough to receive, and give us the strength and the power to release in order to receive. I say these things unto our everlasting parents' throne. Mwah. So, um, okay, let's see. Sister, loving light, delicate ways. No, can't hear and see you. Oh, okay. Everything is good for me. My end still buffering. Aw, you said a lot. Are you sitting delicate lace? Are you sitting still? Have you tried getting up and moving around and see if it you get a better reception? Greetings, Dewanda Nelson. Welcome. It's good to see you. Welcome back. So delicate lace, you might need to relocate where you're sitting, because no one else is referring to having issues with buffering. So it must be um, the location that you're in. Okay. Um, so I'm going to share something that the divine spirit put up on my heart. And this is beautiful. Before we get into the lessons, actually, this is part of the lesson, but it puts things in clarity and a divine perspective. I titled this myself in what word perfect, where you can create your own, um, write your own things, write my poems and stuff. So when I go in here, I can just write everything out, and so it makes it easier for me. So, but anyway, our everlasting parent spirit chooses the despised, foolish, and even weak for mighty monarch of integrity work. I say this simply because when I had asked the divine spirit, why she chose to um, choose me in the midst of all of the things that I was experiencing and had experienced. And then she revealed to me my uncleanliness. Um, I was wondering, well, why was she talking to me? Why was she guiding me, speaking to me, and taking notice of me? And the divine spirit actually, she closed my eyes, and I had somebody's Bible was in front of me. It wasn't something that I purchased. It actually was something that was left in the house, in the apartment, that I had just moved into. And to make a long story short, I came across this book, but it was already after the spirit started speaking to me, and I found this book. So when I asked the spirit a question, I would always have this book in front of me. And so the first time I asked the question, what was this strange and new experience that I was experiencing? It was like the spirit just closed my eyes, and she took my hand, and she opened up the closed book. And I remember my finger going like this, and then she put it down on the paper. So I knew right wherever the spirit put my finger on, I'm supposed to read it, and then that would be the answer, to what it is that I had inquired about. So when I opened my eyes and I looked to see where my finger was, it was on this. It started off by saying, "Now you have received not the spirit of the world, but the spirit which is of." It said God, but I said glory of divinity, to know the things that are freely given to you by God, which is the glory of divinity, and to show me those things I mean, to reveal to me those things that man's wisdom could not teach me. Only the spirit, the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, which I come to find out, which happens to be the mothering spirit. She is the spirit of counsel. She is the spirit of wisdom. Um, and so I can recognize the things that are spiritual versus those things that are spirits, that have spirits, because there's obviously a difference between spirituality and spirits. Like a spirit is like, for instance, have you ever noticed on a liquor store it says spirits? So basically, anything that you consume in your body that will alter your natural way of thinking and utilizing your mind so you can make the proper decisions. Um, Agreed and Chief Warrior, um, Warrior Noya Mina. Yeah. Okay. So anything like when you're taking something that is not good for your body, it's going to create a situation where you're not going to be balanced with the fearfully and wonderfully made spirit that was given. So there's going to be a unbalance, which is going to affect your way of thinking and affect your way of doing things. Spiritual or spirituality is, oh, excuse me, y'all. Spirituality is like it's like a confirmation of what's in our DNA to enhance and guide and manifest those things that is going to be beneficial for us to sustain and maintain life. Um, it's like even when we have an opportunity to invent something, we have the spirituality gives us a deeper insight of what the consequences of creating these devices will cause. So, because we understand that our life giver and life sustainer, and we being the reflection, and we being the her seed, that our same mind must be in line with her creation, that we're here to sustain it and maintain it. So we were very wise and in tune with the cosmos as well as the earth. So we are the manifestation of the infinite mind above and the earth and its mind because of all the substance that's in it that contributes to sustaining our life and our wellness, our happiness, our serenity, and anything that is not in compliance to that, we can have an understanding that if it's going to take one life, it's not worth creating. But see, that's in the minds of the divine. But when that same opportunity of invention of these devices come into the minds of those who have no respect for life, don't acknowledge the divine spirit, and then they too busy looking at the messenger with the council, especially back in the day, it was coming from women, women of renown, and they were the ones who were the landowners, the wisdom speakers, the gatekeepers, and when these beast mentalities come into such a civilized atmosphere, who never even respected their own women, then their whole purpose and their whole agenda is to overthrow the powers that be that was assigned from the very beginning. So spirituality and spirits are two different things, but spirituality represents sustaining and maintaining life versus spirits that come in and cause havoc, that disrupts life and can even take life. because of the manifestation thereof. Okay, let's see. Okay, greeting one another. That's always a beautiful thing to see. Okay, so as I was saying, and so with this understanding, the divine spirit, she gave me um, insight because some people might be wondering what exactly is it from a spiritual perspective do I mean by aspirants? So, I mean, aspirant in itself is somebody who great zeal um, follows or they pursue trying to get a hold to some knowledge with understanding so they can manifest the wisdom thereof, pursuing whatever it takes for change in the midst of chaos, aspirant to learn more knowledge so people don't continue to perish for a lack of knowledge. Basically, a student, no matter how old a person get, and they can even get their little titles with mastering this, that, and the other. But if they take it to the head with an ego, they'll eventually lose what they have because you're still there's so much. The universe is unmeasurable of the things that we can learn. Because in all actuality, to learn something new every day, even in our own lifespan, is a blessing if we can actually be an aspirant to learn something new every day and then walk as we learn and learn as we walk, applying it not as a read, but something to apply and multiply. So the aspirant who longs knowledge of liberation from worldly strongholds would adhere to the divine proper knowledge of liberation of the mind, body, and spirit, uh, leaving the inner child. That's what the divine spirit is connecting to right now. The little child that she sent forth into the universe is a beautiful thing. That our inner child's soul innocent remains. In spite of what we experience in the flesh, it should not be so embedded that it'll affect our inner soul because, flesh dies and it can return back to dust and all that we have left because even the spirit, which is the breath of life, return back to the divine spirit. But our soul, our character, our divine being is what's going to determine how, when we open our eyes, what we shall be what we remain to be. So we have this opportunity now to have a take a real good look at what we've learned, what we have consumed, what we have applied in this radical male dominant sodomite society because they are the descendants of the seed of the sodomites of Sodom and Gomorrah. But nevertheless, this blissful called destiny is a true as the reality of the glory of our divinity. So it is the cause of the cause and effects that affects us. So now it is time for us to attend to her counsel, her universal counsel of words of wisdom, and depend on our ability that she has supplied us with our needs and the spirit guides that she has assigned to us, and that we continue to intentionally apply, our confidence that she gives us in our mind to the that we may obtain and attain our chiefness of our essence, our individuality, but in our essence of our inner soul spirit, child spirit, and that we use our efforts to control our misleading senses from pursuing the colonizer stronghold devices. And I will now share basically a message for us, unto us, for us, that we may contain the essence of the best means for our liberation, and reparations and restoration and our divine salvation, not from a religious perspective, but understanding the root word of me, understanding being delivered from earthly troubles. And what is the root of our troubles that we're supposed to be uh, being partakers? I'm gonna have to get up and move my fan around because I was like, why am I sweating so much? Excuse me. Let me see. Little sister, okay, that messing with us. Okay, they messing with us. It's a spirit. Love on. Okay, little sister, where you said, okay, they messing with us. Did I miss something? Um, Oh, okay. Maybe that's in response to something that I said. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're the free radicals that's within, and so is without. That is their whole focus is about attacking us and trying to rid us of our divine destiny. But even though a lie is a lie, even if a person believe it, they done lie for so long and kept it and make sure they perpetuated the lie that they actually believe it themselves. But nevertheless, mm, wait 1 second. I'm gonna have to turn this fan. Have my water over here at the same time. But nevertheless, yet not I will now, like I said, I will share this message that the divine has put up on my heart and in my spirit, to share, because forewarned is forearmed. Nevertheless, it will contain like the essence and the best means for our liberations from these strongholds and stumbling blocks. Yet, minds is not the absolute. So it will leave room for like minds among to add to our salute that we be worthy, and which will confer the fruits of our exertions and lead us to our birthright, divine destiny, and purified legacy. And in both of this remaining world and the purified world that's still yet to come. So let those who have great minds forsake their worldly desires through this lesson process. Um, to avoid future births that perpetuate slaves of sorrow, and attend to these divine counsels among us as the divine sends us in our paths, including me, because I too walk as I learn and learn as I walk. So, with a calm contentment, to know that we need to be guided by a divine spirit. So, we'll weigh um, um, so basically, so we can repress the mind from these worldly cares that we have accumulated and compose ourselves in calmness in order to inquire after truth and hear each one another, and relate to us, each of us, the way to redemptions and reparations and restoration of a divine resurrection of emancipation, which will remove feelings of pain as pleasure, rather pleasure without pain, dictated by the insane. I know you all can agree with that. These people and their so-called self-appointed laws and everything, that they create is truly of minds of the insane. Okay, let's see. No questions, comments, or concerns, or need any clarity of what I brought forth so far. Um, okay, so moving right along. Um, so the beautiful thing is, the spirit revealed to me that when I asked, in compliance to why she was speaking to me, she did let me know um, that she chooses what the world despises as foolish and weak, to be her servants for these last days. Because if the bottom or the last is supposed to be first, and the first is going to be last. But the beneficiaries of being first, who are in now position of last, that means that she's going to be choosing from the bottom of the barrel, in order to fulfill some proverbs, like one that I enjoyed coming across was where it says that she can take a person from the gutter and set them next to kings and rulers. And then she can take a man out of prison and make him a ruler of his own country. But the only thing is, if he's not willing to take advice, he's no different than a young man who has intelligence but yet still broke. So what she's doing is like taking the outcast of the nations and showing that the knowledge, and the understanding that she's going to be giving is more powerful and more beneficial than what we would learn up under a system that has no intention for us to be leaders, but continue to be followers. That we be laborers and not employers. So she's getting ready to make a fool out of all of them, but she's doing this to confound the mighty and prove her power and reveal who she is, compared to what we have been taught in reference to this patriarchal system that we're in, who exclude the woman to be on the right hand of the side as the true counselor. But that was in First Corinthians, but I know it's written like but they would say God, but God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and the glory of divinity has chosen the weak things of the world to confound those things which are mighty. So I count it all joy that, in spite of how I used to live, and then she changed me in a twinkling of an eye, that uh, we now have an opportunity to show that we are significant. We are somebody. We are the apple of the divine's eye. And she's come to our rescue and our refuge. She is a rock and our fortress, our high tower and our refuge. So the prophets, the glory of divinity, our ancient ancestors, the sibyls, knows that she's her servants, even before we even entered into our mother's womb. So at the right time, she confirms her purpose unto her servants, and she sends us out into the world. So we're going through this preparation period, as well as clarity, and purging ourselves from these different characteristics that we have learned in the midst of this society. And she does not have to be, even though she chooses us according to her will. I'm gonna let you know she chooses and calls people to be her messengers according to her will. So her will does not have to be our will, and and it not necessarily have to go in line with her will and reasoning or what the world has taught us. So it's a new thing. There's nothing under the sun, but it would be new to us because we have come accustomed to one way of thinking, pretty much letting people tell us what to think instead of us utilizing our birthright on how divinity is limitless. And she moves beyond the box that we and well most men have created in their minds. It's amazing if you actually really listen to their doctrines or indoctrination. They instead of them being made out of the image of the divine spirit, they've actually made the divine spirit in their own image. So she will not hinder our human will, but we, when our right mind knows that if she be for us, who in their right mind will be against us, including ourselves. So we don't want to become our own enemy. We would want to be in line with the divine and humble ourselves and know that she's supplier of all our needs. And no matter what level we're supposed to soar up, and because we once you go all the way to the bottom, there's no other way to do but to go up. So to be the Gloria Divinity's mouthpieces today, the descendants that awakening, her symbols. It doesn't matter if we are male or female. So um, our everlasting parent, she chooses the despised and foolish and weak to be her servants. So the standards we put in place of choosing of our everlasting parent's servants are not the standard which the divine puts. And she does not choose or despise foolish and weak to confound the mighty. She does to confound the mighty, but at the same time to make us mighty, and knowing that she can take anything that was meant for evil and turn it around and use it for good. So let me see. Um, you all have any questions? Keep us divided. Okay. Okay, they're missing. Okay. Okay, so I guess you all are just listening right now because the chat is not as active what I'm accustomed to seeing. Okay, so I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure everything is okay. But if you have any questions, concern, or comment that you want me to take notice of, highlighted, that is a good way of getting my attention as well. But nevertheless, also in First Corinthians, that she revealed unto me when I was asking her, especially the way I used to live, why she would want to use somebody with my type of background. She revealed to me that um, she has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and the divine has chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty, and base these things of the world and the things which are despised as the divine chosen you, me, we, us, and things which are not to bring to nothing that are, so that no flesh should glory in her presence. Yeah, so not to say that we had the ability to make these changes on our own. Is the divine's mercy and grace to show us, to mirror ourselves, and then to show the displeasement, but at the same time to release so we can be empowered, so we can rise up. So if the divine chooses the strong, they will just say that their God chose them because they are strong, and this would not confound the mighty, right? So if our everlasting parent chooses the educated, they would just say that the divine, well, their God chose them because they are educated, and this would not confound the mighty, right? Um, Also, if our everlasting parent chose the holier than thou, they would be so proud and boast that their God chose them because they are holy and thou, holier than thou. And this would not confound the mighty as well. So, if our everlasting parent chooses any person of the three groups above that I just mentioned, to be her servants, they will not reveal her infinite mind, her infinite spirit power, their own power and their own influence. So, where would the glory of our everlasting parent come from? So, um, let's see. And keep us divine. I am humble. Yes, listening to one. Hi, sweetheart. Sekmet Shabaka. Greetings, welcome, Shekmet Shabaka. It's a divine pleasure to have you here with us. Welcome to what I call Wisdom Speaks, our divine mother spirit among her daughters and sometimes sons. I haven't seen one of those in here lately, but this is our time. So, welcome, and feel free to highlight anything that you might want to bring to the attention to the group. I have to just keep remember to looking over Section Shabaka. Um, uh, my pleasure to listen. Okay. Well, in this awakening, the divine spirit is using both of our ears, not only to hear the sounds of the spirit and the vibrations and the tones and the tunes thereof, but at the same time, listening. That means hearing and perceiving, and also receiving to apply, to multiply, because she will always give us an opportunity to practice what it is that we say we know, to confirm if we truly know it, or we're just following I don't know, religious dogmas, how they say they honor them with their mouths, but their hearts are far from it. And they do nothing but teach, the human rules and traditions and verses that they have simply memorized. So the divine let me know that she's going to be sending one unexpected blow after another. And those who are professing to be wise will turn out to be fools, and all of their cleverness will be useless. Um, yes, Brahma Baba, even the disagreeables. Everything works in a divine order. Yes, exactly. So, excuse me, hold on. My corner of my eye itching. Excuse me. So, if when our everlasting parent, like shared yesterday, when she calls a person to be her mouthpiece, the person leaves everything and follow her. We that's the reason why attachment is one of the tests of the aspirant. As a matter of fact, that's where we had left off yesterday. So far, we've covered power, money, fame, attachments. Today is the fifth. We're going to start off with the sexuality. Um, yeah, sexuality, and hopefully I make it to sexuality, desire, and anger. Hopefully we can make it through those three attributes, and then I think it's maybe three or four more after that. But nevertheless, Yeah, it's like there's a proverb that says foxes have holes and birds have nests. But the prophets, the civil, have no place to really rest their head until their vow is finished. So I'm grateful for the times that the Spirit had called me for to leave. Just like that, leave everything behind and just follow. And then she'll place me someplace, and then I accumulate again and almost get quite comfortable. And then she said, "Oop, time to go again." And then I gotta leave everything. I'm gone again. But I never really had to want for anything. Actually, the longest time that I ever really had to endure this was being on dialysis for 21 years. But the Divine Spirit, once let me see, my kidneys failed in 27. I mean, 1997. In 1997. And the first 5 years, I was still trying to rip and run the streets and do all the things that I was accustomed to doing. So not until 2002, while I was at home getting ready to go out and party, that I was not thinking about no God. I wasn't looking for no God, and I definitely wasn't living for no God until the glory of divinity showed up at my own home and just totally like in seconds just took all that my A to Z apostasy behavior and just immediately just took the desire of living that way away from me. But it took a couple of days for me to realize what exactly happened to me, because I was under the impression like that time that this lady the next day one of my nurses. Oh, and I did just get my kidney transplant, and I wasn't even on the list. That's a whole nother story. But if you look at any of my old videos, you can hear the whole testimony. The divine told me that she was going to be moving through me quickly because I need to be in position. And that's my greatest concern right now is to make sure I hear the instructions, that I see the instructions and the direction, because I have no reason to live if I was to find out that I miss my season, if I miss my divine connections, if I miss being in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing in order to manifest what it is that I'm supposed to be able to bring forth in my basket of fruit, I don't even want to live no superficial lie. It's just does I mean, once you understand this type of truth and how much of a blessing you are to all, and all are a blessing unto you, and then you are a vessel of contribution to change the way things are, and to miss that, no, I can't. I can't be. I just hope. I really do. I have to succeed because she wouldn't have sent me if I wasn't supposed to succeed. But sometimes a person can overthink. Oh, as a matter of fact, I forgot to send hoodie hoodie hoodie. What's her name? Hoodie. Um, Well, I know her by Linus Divine, but she had a different name in the book, and I forgot to send her an invitation to let her know that we're in the live chat. Oh, greetings, Redbird. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for being here. I'm glad the universe frees you up some time to be with us this evening. I forgot to send. I forgot to send Lioness a divine invitation. Hold on one second. She was in the hold on. Excuse me, y'all. It just dawned on me that she's not in the chat room, and she always tells me to remind her because she's kind of like me. We share that short term memory issue, and I forgot to send her invitation. Let me see, where is she? Okay. Um. eh, Oh, excuse me. Nobody likes silence. Okay. Join us now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, welcome back. Oh, okay. Redbird. Yes. So, as I was saying, and so as an example, if our everlasting parent calls the educated to be the mouthpiece, they totally leave their education and follow her. And if she calls the powerful, they totally supposed to leave their power and follow her. And if she calls the rich, they're supposed to totally leave their wealthy and follow her. But look at um, the ones that she is choosing, because she know for the most part it's harder for a rich man to make it into the kingdom than for what they say a camel through a needle's eye. But count it all joy for us to be appointed to a leadership position in the monarch of integrity. Um, the universe, society, sometimes they look at our education, our status in society, our money, our family. But this is where, we come in and just be the vessels that the divine spirit will show them that this is not where flesh and blood can be glorified, but the divine spirit and her divine ability to make those things that are not as if they were. So, um, as it is today, basically the churches has failed the reason not every person who has studied the world education like theology is a servant of our everlasting eternal parent, because they basically have failed the reasoning. They have also been indoctrinated, because the one thing you don't have to do is to teach somebody the word of the divine spirit, because that's spirituality. It comes through you. You are a vessel that the spirit can use. So you don't go to school for somebody to teach you how to be a messenger. The messengers are selected by the divine spirit, and then the spirit gives you the word that is needed in your present time of eternity to elevate the minds and be a vessel of effective vessel in order to make change. So we must differentiate, basically our everlasting call seed of the woman and her vessels, not called by their fruits, but by the power of our everlasting parent. So, um, which fruit do you bear? And which fruit is bear which vine or which branch is unbearable and unfruitful. So this is the purpose of this particular series of lessons, to show the strongholds and the stumbling blocks, and then what was meant for evil can still be turned around and used for good. Because if people are perishing for a lack of knowledge, once we receive the knowledge, then we can make wise decision and apply it accordingly. So, okay. So, like yesterday, we went over attachments, and let's see, we did the power, we did the money, we did the fame, we did the Oh, and the attachment. So today, okay, so sexuality. So this is like the fifth great test that deals with the issues of sexuality. So our so I'm going to put out some questions, and hopefully you all can respond, and then we move forward according to how you respond. So the first question that the divine spirit, when you become superficial, you lack substance. Yeah. So who wants to live a superficial lie? You might as well not be present physically, mentally, or spiritually. So that's what I'd be saying to the divine spirit. If I don't make it, well, that's not my thought to fail because she didn't send me. I would not even take part in a superficial life that has no divine destiny nor legacy, except other than failure. And that's not going to happen because she brought me this far. She's not going to leave me, and I'm a willing vessel. So I think some things, but I'm not going to allow that to even be a stronghold. But nevertheless, the first question I would ask the is your sexuality mastered over you? Honey. So you see, this is where I wish I had the ability to take phone calls. But anyway, the first question is, are you the master of your sexuality, or is it the master over you? Does the flow of your sexuality serve the lower self or your higher self? I'm gonna just put three of them out there and let you all contemplate over that. Because I do realize there's obviously a delay in what I'm saying and what you all are hearing. Moderate in your sexual practices. What? Please wait while we try. Oh, so something was happening. Mm. Once you start bringing some powerful truth forward, then everything wants to start acting up. Okay, so can you all still hear me and see me? Can you hit the what is this thumbs up button um so I can see who's present because I just got a warning saying that my connection wasn't secure or something. So I don't know if I lost you all or not because I don't see anybody responding to the question that I put forth in the chat room. Well, maybe I need to type it in, but that's too much for me to type. Can you all still hear me? V. Hendricks says she mastered it. We still here. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so and does your sexuality serve love, intimacy, or just materialistic, basically like animal pleasure? Um, so I'm the master for sure. I can hear it clearly. Okay, set that Shabaka. She said, okay. And the reason that we have to address this because well, let me ask a few more questions. Um, does your sexuality serve just a selfish purpose, or does it serve a selfless purpose? And is your sexuality being used for also for raising of your kundalini and brain illumination, or just for a second chakra release? Let's see. In the past, it was master of me. Yeah, little sister. Mm. like Lady Gemini, yes. Lady Gemini, love and intimacy. And Barama, yes. Little sister, bit not anymore. Always in higher self. Yes, that's good. So it's like when you all have like your little 101 to encourage and uplift, and especially the daughters and sisters, and in our own communities, you would be teaching as an example, because they really like when somebody can relate to them. Um, Especially if you show them and you can tell them and share with them that you've been where they are, but when you learn better, you can do better, and you can be that example of change. So these are all key aspirant workers need to ask ourselves, with devastating honesty. We have to be honest with it. Now, it is bonus when connecting with my sweetheart. Oh, little sister. Um, you are born with everything you need, an internal blueprint. Yes, Barama Baba. Exactly. So there is no judgment if it's being slightly misused, but as we become aware of this, we just make the appropriate adjustments and spiritual vows to correct our imbalance. And life is nothing more than, learning, experiencing, and then learning and making continual adjustments, and and making sure it's in line with our attitudes of gratitude that we can see ourselves, to know ourselves, so we can elevate ourselves. So, our physical correction to bring ourselves constantly back into the inner peace and the appropriate state of mind in the midst of all of this chaos in whatever that word, you know what I mean, testosterone. I can't even get it out correctly. You are born with, okay. So mistakes are not bad. I do want to stress that, that's the reason why the universe is unmeasurable, to make room for our mistakes. Only uncorrected conscious mistakes become the problem. We continue to be um, uh, like a broken record, doing the same thing over and over and over again. That can become a problem and almost produce like a reprobate mind, and when a man is wavery in all his ways, he's also unstable. So the idea to learn by grace um, instead of karma, to learn the easy way instead of by the school of hard knocks. So you don't necessarily have to experience everything. Sometimes you can observe the consequences of somebody else doing negativity, and then you can see how it can affect them. And the universe is no respect of person. Sometimes it might take somebody a little longer to feel the full effect of the choices that they make. But eventually, in time, you will reap what you sow. But we're under this spiritual covering, and we're in the spiritual realm. We've done made a paradigm shift now that mercy and grace is bestowed upon us as we learn of ourselves, to rid ourselves of these disagreeable spirits within us and around us, and let it not have the master upon our path and upon our feet. So sexuality is a wonderful thing, and it was created by the glory of divinity to be enjoyed as a communication device and reproduction of love and intimacy. Um, there is a difference between sex, or fu. What do you call it? I don't like you know it's like back in the day they used to use F word, where there's no intimacy, there's no caring. It's just that you're just adhering to this beast like nature where you just want to get off and you can care less about your partner or anything of that. But when we understand our sexuality is not bad, it becomes a negative. However, when it is used by the lower self, our cardinal self, our a negative ego, we use it in the service for higher self and love, and it becomes a most sacred consecration. Now, I'm not fully knowledgeable about a lot of the different techniques that our ancient ancestors and even some of culture, um, um, our cultures utilize today, because our everlasting parent is ministering to a child. I'm a grown woman, but my mind is of the innocence of simplicity, and this is a bit not anymore. Little sister now it's a bonus when connecting. Okay, you are born with everything you need. About celibate 101. Yes. Yeah, for instance, I've been celibate since 2004. So this is 2019. So we're talking like 15 years. And I don't have a problem with it because I've already experienced ignorance. I have a very short tolerance when it comes to boys and men's bodies. And I can just listen to the conversation. Within 5 minutes, I know that this is somebody that I wouldn't even want to spend 10 minutes with. I just never really was that much of uh, how you say sexually active because I was one of those type that it was since I had that sexual abuse attempt on me when I was younger by my dad, and then I have had the date rape situation before, and then the full fledged unknown person rape situation. This was even before I would even think about entertaining men. So it's kind of set the pace that I did not want to be bothered with men. And that might have had something to do with my experience of being a lesbian for a short time, periodically. But nevertheless, I didn't really like the act of it, and it was painful. And so when the divine spirit told me to just hold on to myself, to learn myself, she didn't have to ask me to do that twice because I was like, well, I wasn't, really enjoying it anyway, except for when I had this, how you say it, I had like this aggressive nature where, I was just aggressive and not. I'm just gonna leave that because I haven't been. Okay, let's see. Little sister, I gotta cut out GBF, which I could say I gotta cut out, or you mean check out GB stay. Peace, love, and light. Thank you, Mama Line. I would download and study hard. Okay, little sister, thank you for being here. They each video does come up like within 5 minutes after I'm finished, so you can always come back and look. So I would download and study hard. Okay, Brahma selfies, selfless, and rising up Kundalini. Oh, Ripper 101, yes, divine. Oh, there she is. There she is. Greetings, hoodie, hippie, Linus Divine. Yeah, I had to stop and like say, wait a minute, I gotta call Linus Divine because she told me I have to remind her um, when we're having these sessions so she can come in. So I'm glad you got the message because I didn't even check my phone to see if you had gotten a response. I mean, if I had gotten a response. Brahma Baba says, I love making a spiritual connection and launching out into the cosmic abyss with that special E. You go. That's great. Sekhmet Shabaka, your person body experienced abuse. That old spirit left. Yes, and that's the reason why I'm looking so forward to the universe bringing forth my mind of a king to match my mind of a queen, and that we can work together and in the monarch of integrity, whether in a hut or in a palace, is going to be done without malice. So I still believe in the old school way. If a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. I'm not looking, but I know that at the same time that he's on the way because there's a lot of um, messages coming my way for the past 2 or 3 months that I best to be know that he's out looking for me and we're going to make that divine connection, but it's going to be solely on the work at hand because I already know neither one of us is going to be wanting to just jump into bed or anything like that because we got some mighty work to do. But we're going to make a divine connection on the work that needs to be done. So I'm here and I'm available for him. But it's been a journey, and I'm not complaining because I know myself a lot better of what I will tolerate and what I won't, and what I expect out of him is the same thing that I must give in return. And I have a lot of love to give beyond physical, but just, that listening ear, that woman's counsel, wisdom, that embrace, that nurturing. Um, but I know he's going to have like a ability to even teach me a lot of things that I didn't utilize my time with in this journey, just so that I can't profess to know everything. We're going to balance each other out. For wherever I lack, he fulfills, and whatever he lacks, I fulfill, and we're just going to be able to do that together. So Barama I love Oshima. Your person I read that. Reading, yeah. On divine at divine on the hoodie hippie community peace and love. Divine hoodie hippie peace and love segment. I see a perfect love for you. Thank you, Mr. Baga. I can see him heading towards you. Oh, Emily, oh my goodness. It's amazing that you would word it just that way. Um, because I was dreaming on my couch one day. Then all of a sudden, my dream, it was like this man, like just stuck his face into my dream, like about this close, well, maybe about this close to my face. And he said, you will succeed. I'm waiting on you. And all of a sudden, he backs out of my dream, and the dream had no reason to have some man just pop his face into my dream because it just wasn't about him. It was like I don't know what it was, but it was out of place. But he stuck his face into my dream and said, you will succeed, and I'm waiting on you. And then he pulled back, and then all of a sudden, I seen him going over the sand domes, like out in the desert, or I don't know if it's Arabia, the Sahara Desert in Africa or something. But he just it looked like he didn't have like it looked like he might have had like a shawl or something over him, and it was like flowing in the wind. But his skin was so beautifully black, almost like a black stallion, and he was just pacing over the sand dunes. It was like I woke up. I was like, "Oh my goodness, why did you?" I was like, "Why did you let this man put his face into my dream?" And but I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that you will succeed, and it was coming from a man, and it was like his skin was so dark, which I enjoy dark skin, Hershey chocolate. Even they can be black as I don't know what. It's like the darker they are, the more I'm attracted to them, and that's the only time I actually open my mouth to men. You know, just in passing. I see a real dark skinned brother. I don't care what he look at. I tell him, your skin is beautiful. It's just like, you know, it does catch them off guard, but they'll be like, wow, you know, thank you. Well, thank you and thank you. And then they stand there looking at me, but I'm still moving right along. I'm just letting you know your skin is beautiful, you know, but um, wow, powerful dream. I actually thought I shared that with you, Divine Hoodie. Because there's so much that I share with you over the phone. I thought I shared that with you. Maybe not. Maybe it was somebody else. But you've seen him too. You've seen him too. I show a Shabaka unique name of power. I know a Shabaka, a unique. Uh huh. Okay. Oh, Mama Lioness. Oh, Mama Lioness. Okay. Okay. So, as I was saying, so basically, one of the greatest tests of spirit on our spiritual path, in regards of sexuality, also comes when one achieves power, money, and fame, and attachments. Well, that's attachments is actually another form of sexuality, kind of come up under the umbrella of attachments when you're so attached to people, places, or things, or even emotions and feelings that can become a stronghold. It's kind of like, a seducing spirit. Now, to be aware of seducing spirit is to protect you, but you also have to protect yourself that you don't become a seducing spirit. That's the reason why it was important to be honest when asking ourselves of these questions, if sexuality masters us or do we master over it, and also is it beneficial for the empowerment and the uplifting of our mind, or is it more beneficial for sexual release? There was like 3 or 4 different questions that I asked. So that's the reason why. So up under the money, the fame, and the power, we have to learn how to deal with our sexuality in the midst of the blessings that's going to come for us. Because we have to maintain that humility and that focus of what it is that we are to be, that change in the world. So power will come, money will come, and fame will come, but what's not supposed to change, the truth is the one that's doing the purging within us. So the truth changes things, but the truth itself changes not. So if we allow ourselves to be misguided off the path of what the divine spirit is taking us up on, and taking us on and through, then even with the awareness of these attributes, these tests, we don't want to fail because forewarned is forearmed. So We must continue this as great spiritual students, aspirants from our everlasting divine parent spirit. She is our spiritual teacher because of her wisdom, her omnipotence, and her omnipresence, and her omnipotence, and her infinite intelligence. That we not be the fallen when we are confronted with these lessons in the natural. Right now, we're being taught spiritually because being aware of it. But when opportunity time comes, like when you walking as you're learning and learning as you walking, um, just be able to reach back into the lessons that the divine spirit, no matter who it comes through, is a seed that's already planted. And then as another person comes and waters it, and the desires of your own heart of the truth and maintaining and sustaining that truth, will you be able to get the increase? So we also have to understand that these positions of power to have sex with like these people like politics and religion, they use their positions of power to actually hmm, exploit and mistreat their students, are their aspirants of wanting to be part of their interest groups, are their parties or their religious sects or whatever. So we must be able to differentiate, because there has to be a difference for those who are indoctrinated versus us who are anointed for a divine purpose, and let our words and our actions be the example of the divine essence of the evidence of truth. Because, like I said, the truth changes things, but the truth itself changes not. Let's see. Um, uh, I missed quite a few, didn't I? Let's see. You seen him too. Now that name, remember, Divine Lioness, Hoodie Hippie. Remember, I was saying you that there was when I had put my head inside that curtain, and there was this name that sounded like, I know it started with an S, and I know it's Atata or something to that effect. Why is it that every time I look at Setmet Shabaka, this Shabaka keeps like jumping out at me. Shabaka, I mean Setmet Shabaka, me don't like the. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay. Let's see, that's the truth. Your guest is the sweetest like you. Hmm? Okay, don't fight the process, let it flow. Thank you, Segment Shabbat. Your guest is the sweetest you. Oh, thank you. I want to be me. Yes, Bamana, Baba. I want to be me. Well, who is me? Barama Baba. I'll look out for your reply, because I know that the timing in between is a little off. Walk with integrity. Yes, yes, I remember. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to look up Shabaka, because that sounds like the name that was in the dream. Um, that I was pondering on. It started with an S, and it sounded like it had like Aka, Baka, Tata, something. But this Shabaka part keeps jumping out at me. And I'm reverting back to that dream. and trying to figure out. Let me see. Your your Urona is the name that came to me. Yeah, yeah. We were just talking about, and that's like I said. I believe that's in my civil book. I had to find out, but I think it's not spelled with a E. I think it's spelled with a I. Segment we go way back from past lifetimes. Okay, all right. Well, I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more segment Shabaka because that Shabaka part keeps popping out at me. Okay, so anyway, so so now if you have any more questions, now I did have something. Mm, no, that's okay. So now we're going to move on to desire. So we've already covered power, money, power, money, fame, attachments, sexuality, and now we'll go to desire. Forewarned is forearmed. Being aware. Now, there's always going to be the law and principle of polarity. So there's going to be a balance in the center. So awareness of what pulls you away from your centerness, and for either way. Some people might call it negative and positive, but those weren't the original terminologies because how they defined it as saying that the feminine energy was negative and the masculine energy was positive. If I was going to be analytical, I just flip the script and say the feminine is positive and the negative is the masculine. Um, Nevertheless, the law of polarity for balance. Let me see. I have a testimony to tell you. I must call you to share it with you. Did I give you my phone number? Segment Shabaka political reason. But if you have a pen or a paper, you can take down my number. Any of you all can take down my number, which is 678-469-3987. Again, 678-469-3987. Feel free to call me. If I don't answer, I will return your call within 24 hours. At least that's my intentions. Um, let's see. Uh, Political reason segment. Whenever you meet someone for the first time and you feel like you know them already, that's because you do. Oh, yeah, I can relate to that. It's like deja vu. Yeah, I got it. Oh, okay, you got it. All right. So feel free to give me a call. All right. So let's move on to desire. The next great test here. This is the main precept of all our ancestral teachings and the main precept of even among Buddhism, Eastern philosophies as well. So this is confusing point for many of the aspirant manifestations in our minds. What it actually means by this one must transcend lower self desires, for it is the mother of all negative ego. Ugh, let me start this over. What it actually means, or what it's meant by this is that one must transcend lower self desire, for it is the Father that stands alone and does not acknowledge the Mother all negative ego qualities. Of what happens when masculine energy stands alone. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so this is the attributes of the divine feminine. She represents alone, just standing alone. Um, this is the spirit of, she has the spirit of light. So she's quite capable of truth, wisdom, humility, self sacrifice, compassion, free will, and justice. She also has the infinite knowledge, the omnipresent knowledge, insight, modesty, courage, helpfulness, optimism, and fairness. She's also a vessel of enlightenment, understanding, patience, righteousness, integrity, generosity, cooperation, and equity. She has the ability to utilize her discernment 100%, her intelligence, her empathy, her charity, harmony, and safety. And she perfects the ability, piety, charity, virtuous woman, love, joy, and peace. That's what the feminine nature can produce standing alone. What's this, Baba? Yeah, okay. Um, you are buffering. Oh, I'm buffering. Oh, I can see mine's is going smooth. Mine's is going smooth on my end. But um, um, so I don't know. It might be an interception, um, a weak intercession. Like if you're sitting in a certain area, that is the name of the harpist son I mentioned. What is the name, Brahmana Baba? That is the name of the harpist son I mentioned. What, Shabaka? Shabaka is the harpist son's name. Oh, well, then we must have something in common because that sounds like the name that was in my dream last year. In reference to, I was going to go see, what's her name, Queen Afua, and her husband, who was supposed to be a prince something. When I came into her building, I was dressed in all white, but my clothes was all dirty, and I was like looked real exhausted. And the women were trying to see what it was that I want, and she come forward and she says, "No, she's okay. Just take her to wherever she told me to go." And when I went there, they took me into this big room that looked like it might have been a museum. And there was some, visitors visiting the place, but everybody turned around was looking at me because of the way I was dressed. Um, then next thing I know, they took me to this big ancient stone, like a mountain, and but it was covered in vines and twigs and trees, and but it was like you can tell there was a door behind up underneath all these vines, and then at the top of the door that had like giant lock on it, it said Moses. Okay, so that was weird. But I was given a key, and if I can open up the door, open up the lock, then I'm supposed to go through, and it would only open up for me, because I was the one who was sent to this giant door. So, needless to say, I was not given a natural, materialistic key, but I was given something in my hand, and when I went to go touch the lock, it fell undone, and the door opened unto me. And then the next thing I know, I was going into this room where her husband, who was supposed to be like a priest or something, but he had me to go into this. It looked like a confession room. I only say that because it had curtains and I was separate from him. And then I had to stick my head through this, opening, and he was pronouncing, this name over me. And he would say, "Do you know who you are? Do you know who you are?" And then he starts saying that, S name, and I remember trembling, but at the same time, I couldn't believe that this is what I was being told who I am, and I was like, I had to wake up out of that because it was just so overwhelming. And then you know how you wake up out of a dream and you try to shake it off, and then you go back to sleep, and then the dream picks up back where you left it at. That's a whole nother, thing. Nevertheless, that is the name of the, harpist. Yeah, and I'm still hoping to meet her. You haven't heard from her yet, right? Um, okay. But anyway, so as far as our desires, we have to get that in check. And to put anything in check is basically to be aware of, to have knowledge of something, and then to get the understanding of that knowledge of that thing or that presence, and then, given opportunity, our choices would be wise. So all the lower self, desires should be transformed to a higher self of desire, instead of, um, individually, but yet collectively. That, once we come into, this family of aspirants, it's not about individuality. It's about, collectively as a unit. Even though, some of our, offices, will have us to some things like a tigeress. Tigers are solitary, but yet they work together, solidarity. So it's the same thing with lioness, but they can work, better together. Yeah, in a, well, they say a pride of lioness or lions. They work very equally together because everybody recognize their talents, their gifts, and they are strategically placed where they need to be in order to collectively work together. So that with that understanding, I don't like all of these, what do you call it, notifications coming in. Let me see. Civil Oracle. Oh, greeting. Hey, hey, Civil Oracle. Glad you were able to make it. Greetings. Yes, I'm glad to see you made it. Okay. So, many of us as aspirants, um, sometimes it can become confusing, when we try to point out, these stumbling blocks and strongholds. Um, our desire, which is not appropriate or of good. It is time to release those things that does not serve a higher purpose. And the only one who can actually give you clarity of what that is the divine spirit. Now, I had asked, Barama Baba, when you say you just want to be me, maybe you didn't hear me. I said, I, well, who is me? You know, what is it that Barama Baba wants to be as she, as me, is? Now, we have to truly understand that even though our everlasting parent has chosen us and has called us out of darkness to shine her great light upon our minds so it can be upon our path and our purpose, we do have free will. Now, if we have to be able to be that word that became flesh, you know, because that does not only go to one person that was created by man philosophy, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh. Well, the divine knew us before we entered into our mother's womb. We was a thought in the beginning, and then she spoke us into existence. Our portal came through our divine mothers, and now her thought and her word has become flesh. That's all of us, regardless of our highs and our lows, our ins and our outs. We are the manifestation of the cosmic, eternal, infinite, intelligent mind. And we have become flesh, but we still house a divine soul. So we want to make sure where these blessings or blissfulness comes from in order to take us to that another level, that we be in line with her will. And nobody can define that for us as individuals as the essence of our position that she's calling us to be, except for she. And that's not going to come through me or anybody else. That's going to have, she's going to minister to your mind. And then first it's going to come through your mind because this is a mindful universe. This universe is mental. So if you notice that the divine spirit will give you a thought and then cometh the confirmation. So she's going to make sure that her children, her daughters, are in line with her will. And she sometimes will ask us to do some things that we might not necessarily feel comfortable doing it, but we just got to do it out of obedience and to know that her thoughts of us is not of evil but of good. And her whole intentions is to make sure that we have an expected end to this system so we can renew our true beginning as it was from the beginning. So that's something that I look forward to on a daily basis. I love the divine to give me encouragement to be empowered, but I love it even more when she corrects me, because that to me is more important, because true love is to be open and honest with you, not a people pleaser nor a pacifier, but the divine spirit is going to reveal those things to you that is going to require you to sacrifice and make a change. Okay, let's see. Mm, civil organ. I often meet the unborn before they are in the womb in my dreams. Wow, that's amazing experience. That reminds me of this sister who that used to come and spend some time with me over here. And she had an appointment with this doctor. And when she walked in, the first thing she said to him was, "Hi, I'm your daughter that you aborted, you and your wife aborted." Now, needless to say, it was a shock to the doctor. But the next day she went back. He said she took him by surprise because him and his wife actually did abort a child together. And so for this little lady that only stands about 4'11", maybe a little shorter than that, to walk in and say, "Hi, I'm your aborted child. I'm the child that you and your wife aborted. It really was like really, well, for me to even hear that, that was amazing, So I know it can happen because if it can be spoken through, then it can also be dreamed too as well. Let's see. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So the desires, um, it is good for us to desire to ascend in our desires to achieve our liberation and our reparations and our restorations and our redemption and our eternal salvation, not from a religious perspective, but from being delivered or being saved from earthly troubles. That is the focus of our enemy, our oppressor. So, like even Melchizedek and all the inner planes ascend masters continue to strive for a greater level of spiritual growth. So transform our lower desire self into the desire of the glory of divinity, her goodness, and that realization that we are to be that living example. We are the sequel of her word that now needs to be manifested. We are that change that we look for and pray for. It's going to be manifested through us. So this will give us an opportunity to recognize our desires of what is it pleasing? Is it just selfishness or selfless? Is it pleasing to self or is it pleasing collectively for the remnant, the unit, the divine purpose? So we must put our desires in check. Anger. Okay. So I was just checking to see if you all have um, asked any questions. Okay. So basically, the definition of anger is that it is a lack, and I am evidence, even after 16 years of walking with our everlasting parent, I do not understand, like, and I just noticed, like, just recently, I've been having some attitude issues, some irate issues. Um, I get frustrated and aggravated and angry. And I've been delivered from that like a long time. But then all of a sudden, I just started noticing that I've been having some of these issues, and I can't explain why, because I'm still the same divine aspirant for divinity of our everlasting parent, and I'm still, um, keep my mind focused on what it is that she's called and chosen me to do. I still recognize the Divine Mother's words as being true and not void. Um, I couldn't understand why all of a sudden things were coming in and irritating me and aggravating me. I just don't understand it, but nevertheless, so as I'm sharing this old lesson with you that I had since 2008, 11 years, things are being brought back to my remembrance, because that's the whole purpose of the divine spirit brought this forth after I asked her why all of a sudden am I starting to have these um, um, characteristics that's unpleasing. If it's unpleasing to me, I can imagine it's not very suitable to show of all that you have put into my spirit for the last 16 years. So I know it can't be pleasing to our Divine Mother when I have these little outbursts. So then all of a sudden, she brought to my remembrance, you've been taught this before. You're going to have to review it and then share it with others as well. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, Mama, civil articles. I often okay. Um, um, this maybe. Yeah. And so to me, a test. Oh, excuse me. Let me get some water. Mm, excuse me. I was belching. Okay, so yeah, a test to me um, is the opportunity to being critiqued, to be um, in order for you to recognize the little foxes that can spoil the vine, you have to be faced with the situation for you to ask questions. So when I knew that that behavior was not something that I was accustomed to displaying, so of course immediately I'm like, well, why all of a sudden I'm starting to act like this? Why am I responding this way? You know, so is my question is not just going just expressing another disapproval. I'm speaking it because I need some answers because I want to know if I'm doing something wrong, then it needs to be corrected. And the only way to correct something is to know what that is that needs to be corrected and the consequences of what it would cause if it's uncorrected. So the divine I'm grateful for my test, or what I would call, time of critiquing, to let me see some things that can become an issue on this next level that the divine spirit is taking up us on, because you can't have these type of display, these type of attitudes and demeanors, when the divine gives you an opportunity to have power, because you can't let outside influences change your way, change your behavior in reference to what is pleasing to the divine and what is going to bring forth the fruit. Because some of us bring tenfold, 30-fold, 50-fold, and 100-fold. But none of us actually know that number. And to lose any of them based on an attitude situation that can be adjusted just by simply being aware of it and what causes it and how to change it, is surely should be welcomed and needed. And that's the same way with friendship. Um, uh, a, a family of divine minds, we shouldn't have a problem with the divine speaking through one of us to help one another, because we're supposed to be able to say it like how um, divine hoodie hippie, um, lioness divine, how she said tactful, to be impactful. To be impactful is to be caring. You say what needs to be said, but just make sure you use some tact with it. It's some discipline. When you bring something to somebody's attention, that's a form of discipline. And I noticed that women do not take kindly of another woman bringing their attention something that is not pleasing. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't have female friends. Um, I had more boyfriends, but not like intimacy, but just, I was a tomboy. So I had to try to keep up with my twin brother, who in turn had male friends, and everything that I like to do. That's what they pretty much did. I had a sister in the home, but unfortunately, she was being affected by the stuff that was going on with her, that I didn't know what was going on with her. And then once I learned what our daddy was doing to her, she wasn't in the home too much longer because the divine spirit allowed a sickness to come on her, and she wound up going into the hospital. And then she opened up to the people at the hospital, and they took my sister away. And it was just like that movie Color Purple. When I went to go visit my sister in the hospital, and she told me she wasn't coming home, and they was taking her to a group home, whatever that was. All I heard is she said she wasn't coming home. And when that white lady walked in there and said that it's time to go, it was like uh, uh, the two sisters, Opa, I mean, we'll say Whoopi Goldberg and I forgot their names from that movie. I haven't seen that movie in so many years, but it was literally we were like intertwined and holding on to. Well, actually, I was holding on to her, but she was holding me back, holding to, because she wasn't ready to, to go, because she was trying to explain to me why she wasn't coming home, and I didn't want her to go. So it was like a screaming, crying match right there in the hospital. It was devastating. Devastating. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, let me get off of that because that is too emotional. Let me see. They are in the room in the dreams. Divine Hoodie, test maybe. Divine Hoodie, are we as daughters held to higher standards? Yes. I mean, just being able to recognize as being daughters makes you a higher standard. Because to recognize who you are is definitely comes with responsibility and accountability. Because we're going to be that effective evidence of the divine word of change. And so yeah, we're definitely at a higher standard, representing the true image and reflection of our divine mother in our actions and our words and our deeds. So yes, divine hoodie hippie, yes, being the daughters of the divine in this present time of eternity will definitely gives us a higher standard, which would be a higher responsibility and accountability. I mean, it would be different if you say you don't know and you didn't hear, but the spirit ain't gonna talk to you and call you, and then one minute say, okay, you heard her, and then the next minute because you're not ready to follow suit that you say you don't hear, because the divine spirit created the mind, so she can definitely communicate to the mind as well. Let's see. Much love at Civil Urkel. Redbird, you're still here. That's a beautiful thing. If a man is not careful, he slips into the realm of ego. Oh, yeah, because that's what I was saying. I was supposed to now. I don't know how far back that was, how many minutes ago that was. But yeah, I read the beautiful attributes of the divine feminine when she stands alone. It's kind of like that what do you call it? That proverbs that says, every queen would want a king on her side, but let's not get it twisted. I mean, that's kind of like how I say it anyway. Let's not get it twisted. The queen can actually rule the palace alone. With those type of attributes, she can definitely rule alone. Now, this is the attributes of men when they are not in sequence or they're not united with their better half, with the feminine, and all they have is the masculine um, ego, basically. They produce greed, falsehood, ignorance, and arrogance. anger, harm, and injustice. They have an issue with envy, um, folly, impatience, insolence, and aggression and iniquities. They focus more on materialism, deceit, delusions, playing those games and stuff like that. Um, Selfishness, obstinacies, provocation and exploitation, access, deceit, hero worship, selfishness and callousness and treachery, oppression, they cause oppression. Um, they created the money system that causes divisions, politics, religion, vanity, violence, and subjugation. They have no problem of creating usury. They betrayal, idolatry, untrustworthiness, antagonism, cruelty, um, inquisitions, profit and wealth, fraud, ritual dogmas and fear, neglect, indifference, hostility and malice, hate, conquest, chaos, enslavement. Now, if you were to look at the fruit that they bear up under this patriarchal system for the past 2,000 and some odd years, that's exactly what type of fruit that they bear. So now, if you take a woman and put him next to a man, and he recognized her status and her significance and utilize her wisdom and her strategies, then love conquers all. So when you don't have a man looking to the woman and her counsel, then that's the type of fruit that they bear. So now the Divine Mother and the Father, I mean, even some people are still awakening, but they give the acknowledgement to the Father. But at the same time, the Father going to lead them to the Mother because she is the counselor. She is the mighty counselor, the almighty glory of divinity. Um, so even what you might think, now it will grow and mature as well because this is the time of the mother and the time of her daughters because it started with her from the beginning because there could be no father without children, and there could be no children without mother. So the first attribute in the world was feminine. Even their science lets us know that the universe is like a black womb that burst all into existence. Now, there's some things that some people like to speculate and imagine on trying to figure out how all that is to be, but you can never be, it's like you can never really define something that you weren't there in the beginning or you're not able to. It's kind of like looking at the sky but you can never touch it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so um, yeah, so that when there's an unbalance, then this is what the masculine would produce without the divine connection with his greater half or better half. But let them tell it is the weaker half. But actually, we're the most powerful because he wouldn't be here without us. And as a matter of fact, in the very beginning, according to what I call my woman's Bible, which is the rediscovering of the cosmic mother, um, spirituality, but the book says religion, but I don't um, support the word religion. But nevertheless, it's very beginning, which even embryos let you know that there's obviously a time that it was all female, but you have to understand the process of pathogenesis, and even here now today, that hormone that the woman has inside her vagina that used to secrete and stimulate the egg process to give birth without the aid of the masculine gender. Um, there go 1111. I caught it this time. Oh, she's not even on here. Season. Okay. KD3M, 3CHAM, what? Fury Aborigine. Welcome. I'm not going to even try to figure out, so I'll just stick with Fury Tanio Aborigine. Welcome. Um, True about women, a segment color purple, yeah. Ripper, uh, okay, welcoming Tanya. Barama Baba, she reached out, but I missed her call. Oh, okay. Divine Hooded Community knew it, just wanted to confirmation. Oh, okay. Setback deep stuff. Yeah. Barama Baba, I was asking if that man Sekmet Shabaka dreamed of was for me. I don't know, because that doesn't mean that we can't all relate to it one way or the other. Um, let's see. Barama agreed. Um, 8:12 there. Okay, so it's 11:13 here, and it's 8:12 with you. Okay, so yes, so I'm dealing with the anger, the disposition of misguided pride of men and their egos and their arrogance. Unfortunately, we deal with a lot of anger. And, women have anger, but hers with understanding is supposed to be a righteous indignation. And the only way that you can profess righteous indignation when you learn something that is going to jeopardize your children's lives, your mate's life, and including your own and the status of your home. We're supposed to get angry, but we don't stop there. We look for solutions to resolve this issue. And due to the fact that it's a lot of positions in society as we see it today are the leadership positions are in men. They have an ego that they don't want you to tell them anything. They feel like they have the answers to the all. And I actually, oh, I wish I had it out and ready. I love the history that the divine spirit gave me when the status of the woman as the head changed. Now, when you say head, it's like the mind, it's like the consciousness. Because see, they had to redefine what head mean to be up under a patriarchal system, which is be contradictory of what divine ancient culture how it would define head. Now, and then the word father in ancient Hebrew and ancient Metu Neter, the word father wasn't like a masculine identity. It was the word that you would use to describe the person who was actually the protector of the home, the provider for the home, the counselor up through of the home, and the comforter of the home. So it's like the women do most of the work in the home. So actually, they would be considered fathers, but it's a different language when it's being used and defined in an English language that is full of so many oh, I forgot the word for it, but somebody will put it up there. But nevertheless, it's just different. No different than a Spanish person. When he says see, he's not telling you to look. He's telling you yes. So our ancestors had the ability to teach other nations, but at the same time, they can speak it in their own language, but it would never lose its original thought. But when you have a people who have no intentions of acknowledging your ancient culture and the blissfulness of it, of having a civilization that didn't even have the word jail or prison or slave in their category, it is just amazing. Excuse me, amazing. You know, the language and how it's to be defined among our own culture versus a culture whose their own identity and purpose is about stealing, killing, and destroying. So anyway, so let's see, mm, 8, 12, 11 segment. I see a couple of learning partners for you that will prepare you for one. BP. Oh, that's for Barama Baba. Divine one, the hoodie community. Men are always urging me to tell them it's not a competition. Exactly. Well, when we're sure of ourselves, we don't have to compete. I mean, because our truth is a sure foundation. You don't even have to give time into that because I've learned, according to the Divine Mother, say what I have to say. And if somebody has something to respond to after I done said, now see, because I would give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm gonna tell them I'm not gonna allow your doubt to benefit against what it is that I stand and believe in. Now, I'll listen to what it is that you have to say, and I won't interrupt you. But when it's my turn to respond, I first and foremost expect the same respect that I've given you. So when I'm finished, that means I done allowed you to say what you had to say. I'm gonna say what I have to say, and then if you're still talking, I'm just gonna have to walk away because see, once he comes to me, is a period, and then that's not arrogance, that's not pride, that's just being sure that you're actually standing on your truth and it's not a debate, it's not a competition. Both of us was able to exchange at least once how we feel or how we think. And if somebody has an issue with that, but first of all, I'm gonna let them know that my insight comes from the divine spirit. So if you have a problem with me and the words that I speak, I suggest you go talk to the one who gave it to me. Because I'm not going to stand here and go back and forth because that's what they want you to do. They want to challenge you. They want to debate. I mean, all of that. I'm not going to give time for that. I'm not going to give myself no unnecessary headache when I can just come to the conclusion I'm going to listen to you, you're going to listen to me, and then I'm going to just go on about my business. You know. Now, if your words out of your mouth come after I say that, I can agree. So let's build on it. Then I'll stick around. But until you start combating what is I'm saying, it's like I got to go. I'm not caught up with that. And some people might see that as being rude, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But that our everlasting parents not gonna have me standing around debating on what somebody else believes when there's people out there waiting to hear what it is that you believe because they're looking for the same confirmation. So why stand there and argue with somebody when there's somebody out there that's waiting for you to come bring the information to them? Well, okay, this is moving. I see a couple of, okay, Cherokee, peace, light, and love, Mama Lioness. Oh, greetings, Cherokee, all it indigenous Aborigine. Hi, blessed, welcome, Divine Holy Community, righty. Rama Esek Meshabaka, thank you for allowing the divine to speak to me through you. Okay. Segment, a partner is either a reflection of you or a lesson for you to learn from. Yep. Shabaka. And I had two learning partners already. Okay. Okay. So to the anger situation. So oh, let's see. So if we think about this, the misuse of anger deals with the misuse of power. hmm And the late great, some of our ancestors are what they call forefathers, actually became foe, like enemy fathers, foe fathers. Um, but at the same time, channeling spoke of positive anger versus negative anger. And that's what I mean by righteous indignation versus ego anger. Um, Everyone needs what might be called positive anger or righteous indignation to be upset about something that is exploiting or leading to the demise of your people that is supposed to make you angry. And there's a righteous indignation because you want to address it in a way that they can make a change and you be effective in it. So this is like being the spiritual warrior in life of manifesting tough love for the with self or others when needed. So it's to me, it's like open rebuke is better than secret love. And then when you bring something to somebody's attention, you're doing it out of love, to help let them know themselves, see themselves, check themselves. Um, but at the same time, we still have to be careful of our tone and our tune, but like I said, when it comes to women up until just recently, the divine would always send me to men because they were the ones that were sitting in leadership positions, whether it be church, state, community, whatever the case may be. I noticed that when the spirit would send me there, they would have an issue with me speaking up and speaking out the way the divine was using me because that's not how they would basically train their women, especially when it comes to these Hebrew Israelite camps. Whoa. The Divine Mother had to use me so many times for open rebuke in the midst of those. I mean, I've been asked not to come back to places. I literally been picked up off my feet and carried out of a Christian church, a very well known, huge, global known church. But when the divine says speak, I have to be obedient and speak. Now, they would consider it indecent and out of order to cause disorder in their church. But if their JC was to come back and go to how he was overturning the money changers table, selling CDs and books and all this kind of stuff in their church or whatever, he would be doing the exact same thing. He said, "You made my house into a house of thieves, but and it's supposed to be a house of prayer." So I don't have to subject myself to no rules of no building, professing to know or teach about the divine spirit when their action speaks louder than words. So when the divine mother tells me to speak, I just speak, and it can be disruptive at times, but sometimes it takes a chaotic situation to bring things to people's attention. So, nevertheless, I wouldn't say that's everybody's job, but that's just how the divine spirit was using me my first 5 or 6 years that she had me going to various places. Um, and she told me that she was going to make my head harder than theirs. And I just never really had to deal with any sisters because they weren't in the position of leadership. Um, so now it's that time that we sharpen one another because we are in the leadership position. So let me see. The second parents of only a year that reconnected me to the memory of the great matriarchy. The only two lasting relationships I have, partner, that is. Earth must be a real university. Yes. Thank you. You're welcome, Cherokee. I don't know. There's so many different conversations going on in the chat room. I don't know which one even applies to me. So if you all have something that you want to share with me, just highlight my name so I don't interrupt you all's conversation reading um, something that doesn't apply to me. So you can teach others. Okay. So everyone needs what might be called positive anger. And this is like being a spiritual warrior in life or manifesting tough love with self or others when needed. Anger, in essence, um, is ego, and this is a fact, according to the list that I just read. Instead of getting rid of anger, it should be channeled properly, and for there is enormous power in anger. I mean, because anger propels you. Not only first you took notice of, but you had a connection on the inside of you that just ain't right. That is unacceptable. That is intolerable. And that means that there must be a change. Okay. So um, instead of getting rid of anger, it should be channeled properly, so that energy can go toward the substance that's causing the problem, to uproot injustice and to overthrow hypocrisy, even though they say we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness, rulers of darkness, workers of iniquity in high places of divinity. Those are being attributes that are coming out of flesh and blood. Those are being housed in men and some women. Um, so let's not get it misunderstood. Now, we're not supposed to have to resort to physical attacks, but when we understand the power of the tongue, of the learned, and the power of prayer, and the power of being in line with the divine spirit of confirming her messenger's word, they will be dealt with, because they got like a couple of 100 years on us when it comes to preparing with weaponry. But we had the ability to win win wars without weaponry, and that's one of the powerful things that I love that our everlasting parent revealed to the poem that she had for me to write, addressing the hey black man, the mind of the king, so he can get back in his kingly mind. Okay, so this is what it is meant by positive anger. So anger channeled for the anointing purpose of consciousness gives us the right direction. And anger, when not used in a completely unconditional, loving manner, is an attack, and for that reason, it is wrong. It is never appropriate or to attack a brother or a sister, excuse me, to hurt another, to hurt um, the um, the apple of the divine's eye, as far as being a remnant, and then even the ones who are living who has not come into the line of that divine consciousness, her breath dwells within them as well as it dwells within us. So until that day and that hour of the judgment of how the divine sees fit on how to separate the wheats from the tares, only then would that separation be, and it won't be by our might or by our will, but by the spirit of her word. Um, Nevertheless, it's never appropriate to write to attack our sisters and brothers and to hurt another, and including ourselves. So people who are angry all the time are basically demonstrating a lack of true personal power and the control thereof and the consistent self mastery, because, to control people is like a form of mastery, but to be able to control yourself is true power. So anger creates separation, and the purpose of life is to retain oneness and all at all times. So not separation. So cultivate personal power, a spiritual warrior's attitude, and the toughness in life, but not anger. So and chronic anger, that takes a toll on your organs. I'm evidence of that because my kidneys failed because of high blood pressure. High blood pressure becomes of uncontrollable anger. And then when your blood pressure is high, it makes your heart work harder, and when your heart work harder, it makes your kidneys work harder. So I had like a endless loop going on because I had sometimes I would release it, but then somebody would get hurt. And then sometimes I will hold it in, and then I'm the one getting hurt, but I didn't know it. But I used to have like these whew, severe headaches and like these hot flashes and all kind of crazy. And I would used to imagine on doing stuff to people that I didn't even know. Somebody would walk up to me and introduce themselves, and instead of saying hello or hi, I'm standing there trying to figure out how to hurt this individual, and I don't even know them. But see, that was way back then. And then a twinkling of an eye, I am so grateful. Oh, I am so grateful for our everlasting parent for changing my ways. Oh my goodness. Mm-mm-mm. I am so grateful. That's the reason why I have to fulfill my purpose of being here because I actually died myself. People say that when they die, they see a great white light and they always go into the light. That's not what I saw. As a matter of fact, I saw something even more beautiful than white light. I saw it was like I was soaring in the universe and all the stars was like coming at me like really fast, but I'm going through them in the stars. And then I was seeing all these multiple colors. Oh, it was beautiful. And then it was like I'm just traveling through all these beautiful great lights, and then all of a sudden I met with this voice, this powerful voice, and I was told to go back. Obviously, I didn't want to go back. I was like, I know, I want to stay right here with you. I don't want to go back. I mean, I remember that as clear as day. Uh, and then I was told, no, you have to go back. I didn't want to go back. But here I am. I'm here. And I can share some more um, amazing experiences. I don't see my name in highlights, so okay, I'm gonna keep reading. Let's see. Um, so nevertheless, we must cultivate our personal power, a spiritual warrior, that lioness and lion, even the lady and the gentleman, even the child, the male and the female. We must be able to become that spiritual warrior and channel our anger in the right direction for the right purpose. That we may have a warrior attitude and toughness in life, but not anger. It's kind of like there's a proverb. See if I can remember. Uh, It'll come to me. Nevertheless, chronic anger will debilitate our liver function and kidney function, among other things. And anger stems from attachment and not looking at things as lessons in life. So it is also stems from the inability to transcend duality. Must get that anger in check. At least learn the righteous way to use it. So when things bother us in our relationships, most definitely, share them. Pick an appropriate time. You don't want to add fuel to the fire. But you shouldn't be in a relationship where you feel like you can't really have a communication with your mate. You should be able to say, let's talk. And then whatever he's doing, if he's not working on something, and if you're not working on something, or if you are, at least have the decency of respect to one another and say, okay, let's do this at such and such a time so I can finish the task at hand. But to be able to give in to seeing what's on the heart and the mind of your mate is the most appropriate thing to do. Um, but nevertheless, anger without unconditional love is negative anger and should be controlled at all costs. So there is no such thing as a righteous anger without balance. So a righteous indignation, where some people might get it confused with righteous anger, to justify or to excuse, because there's a righteous indignation and then there's anger. Anger can stand alone, and when it stands alone, it can cause harm, you know. But indignation is to shine a light up on a situation that needs a change, and it doesn't have to be from a physical perspective of trying to get things back in line and right in order. Just being able to sometimes create the pen is mightier than the sword is a an opportunity to be that higher level way of thinking and doing. So nevertheless, righteous anger is a delusion of the negative ego, so to claim something of their outburst as righteous, just look at the fruit thereof, what type of fruit it bore when they did their outburst. So anger is such a critical lesson in life for us to be aware of, um, because it occurs quite often throughout our life, with the road rage and just the anger of the situations that are happening throughout the world, the disrespect on life, let alone the melanated people. We get anger, and because they think that their solution is going to come through, you know, mass. What do they call it when they're marches or burning down buildings and throwing, breaking glass, one another, and the officers. Some of them unfortunately deserve it, but at the same time, you can't put all the fruit in one basket and think that and hope to get the right one, and then you still wind up with some innocent ones in critical condition. The anger is being as, and some of us might have experienced some lessons from Buddha, and I like the wrong points of view. I mean the Buddha language. Because see now when it comes to like the different religions, because our ancient Kemet, ancient what they call Nubia today, Ethiopia, and then our Sibyls were over in Rome before it became Roman. They were in Greeks, they were in Turkey, they were all over on this planet. Asia, Asia Minor, India, they've just been everywhere. So their lessons, like that Alexander the Geek, I mean the Greek. I wouldn't say great, but Alexander the Great. When before he passed, he gave permission for his 4 generals. Dividing up Africa, because that's where ancient Kemet, or what they call Egypt today, is located. Um, then they still struggling and trying to fight over a land that doesn't belong to them. Our ancestors were stewards; they were appointed there to know the land better than anybody else, and to maintain it and sustain it. Just like here in on Turtle Island, before these colonizers and pilgrims and whatever came over, you were able to drink straight from the rivers, the lakes, the streams. The land wasn't defiled. They weren't digging for oils and this, that, and the other. It was clean and pure. But then you let a germ over here, then unfortunately that germ spreads. And look at the state of the world, with the plastic and everything else. Our ancestors was wise enough to create those type of things. But like I said, knowledge is power, and to look beyond the want of an individual versus the need or the lack thereof. Sometimes we can create things and invent things, but at the same time, everything is not worthy to be invented if it's going to cause affliction not up only on people but the earth itself, Mother Earth. So don't see no highlights. Let's see. No such thing as righteous anger. What did I say? So anger, we all know how often, anger occurs, throughout our lives, and the development. We can find it in various teachings, because no matter what, it said, except for Satanism, I guess, would be the only religious perspective that might not teach anything about morality and integrity. But for the most part, most religions do have some chapters or their own proverbs or their own quotes or lessons when it comes to humanity, humility, honesty, integrity, and righteousness. So that's the reason why I like to let women know that this is not a religious platform, but it doesn't really matter where you're coming from. because no matter what, your book or your belief system should have some type of moral teaching so you can be able to interact with other people for the purpose of redemptions, reparations, restoration, and eternal salvation. As we come to an agreement on what the focus is and what the goal is, then your belief system shouldn't matter, because this is not coming together to talk about religion, but to talk about where we have a common ground of how this present system has exploited and demised and mistreat us. And now it's time for them to be held accountable for the lack of the responsibility that they made in their self-appointed policies. So, nevertheless, okay. So it's not. So when one moves into position of power, fame, and money, the proper control of this anger of energy is to, even more importantly, for a great many people are in our spiritual care. When anger arises, channel it into cleansing your house, exercising, transformative journal writing, poetry, dancing, meditating. Use the enormous power in anger as a process to create good realization of yourself, knowing thyself, and to utilize that energy for something positive. And do not judge self when anger arises, but take the responsibility, that we are creating it. We are the one that's creating. Ain't nobody make you be something or do something or feel something that you do not give into to display. Because a person, they don't feel your pain, they don't feel your joy. So why should you allow their actions to alter your state of mind and your state of feeling and being, and not be able to recognize it is what it is, and reapply whatever is that energy you feel coming up? Because this is, it was working for me, but now the spirit had to bring it back to my attention, for me to utilize these teachings that she gave me back in 2008, 11 years ago, that I be reminded, because she is the spirit to bring things back to our remembrance, as well as the enlightenment of our journey that be at hand. So we're not to take our emotions out on others, but we can express um, um, verbally with tact and tone and tune. Because remember, a soft answer turneth away wrath. Um, and you can just express yourself, and then let it chips fall where they may. So, nevertheless, karma will be incurred. Okay, let's see. Divine hidden anger is a good, useful energy when being channeled correctly. Yep. You are absolutely right. Yeah, our divine mother is absolutely right. Thank you, divine hoodie. Um, me too. That anger was something else. Girl, I know, it's like, I'm so glad that she loved us enough to like bring things to our attention. Because who wants little foxes to spoil the vine? You come so far, and then a situation just turn you inside out. It's like, I'm so glad that sure her eyes are constantly up on us to bring things to our attention that needs to be addressed. Even in the midst of us being busy on whatever it is that we're focusing on, I'm so glad her spirit is able to intervene where it's needed, and then, put a mirror and show ourselves that we must continue to know ourselves so we can divide ourselves in a perspective where we not allow outside influences to affect our inside um, uh, elevation. So Brahma, Baba, anger can rearrange a situation, whether for good or bad. Divine, he can't hear you. Oh, you can't hear me? How long ago was that? Let me see, Sekhmet Shabaka. I seen that before too, traveling through colors, but it was like a tunnel. I went to the light and then came back. Okay. And loving your teachings, Mama. Oh, well, thank you. Huh. So I looked over here. So are people being dropped? Who's here? Can somebody? Because I'm looking at my counter, and I see it says only 3 people are in the chat room, but that can't be true. Um, let's see. Seth Mac, well, I'm sure you're still here because I think like um you actually just typed something. Barama, you're here. Seth Mac Shabaka's here. Oh, uh, let's see. Divine Hoodie Hippie, are you still here? Um, uh-oh. Somebody might have been asking questions and I didn't. Let's see. So, Cherokee, Owl, Indigenous, Aborigine. Um, oh well. So I don't see. So just 2, 3. Okay, well it must be late. Well, it's 11:53. Oh, we made it through power, money, fame, attachments, sexuality, desire, and anger. So tomorrow we will resume and start off with transcending fear. Transcending fear. Because I love when the divine spirit had said, I was writing a letter to somebody to introduce myself. And the spirit showed me something that I wasn't quite aware of about myself, but she told me through writing to this individual, she showed me that I've experienced fear. Now I'm fearless. I've experienced powerless. Now I'm powerful. I've experienced foolishness. Now I'm wise. I've experienced, it was like about 5 or 6 of them. And I was like, wow, really? I got to maintain and sustain that then. Ventura, Vincia Fowler. Hello, I'm just a kid. Guys, greetings on my mom phone. Oh, how old are you? Benicia Fowler. I was Benicia. Hi. I wish I had. I'm hopefully tomorrow I'll have like a phone number. I might have to utilize one of my other outlets where we can do like an online, like either Zoom or excuse me, or my, what they call it, video. I mean, free conference call.com. I had to see how many faces can be utilized there. But welcome, Vincia. What state or what country are you coming in from? Benicia Fowler. Fowler. Welcome to the platform. I guess there's a little delay in the like what I might be saying versus what you're hearing. So maybe eventually when you hear me, you can respond. How old are you and where are you residing? Yes, I am a kid. I'm 11 years old. Where your mama at? Our precious. What you doing up this late on YouTube? Now I'm gonna have to act like a real mama now. Where your mama at? And it's like almost midnight, but then you can be in another country. But I don't have a problem by you being here because we don't use foul language. We don't, disrespect. We're here to empower and uplift your divine feminine nature and to let you know that you are significant and in your essence of being, even though you're a young child, that you will be able to grow up with a mind of a queen and that you have such great opportunity ahead of you and that we're here for you. We're your village of love, near and far, and I'm glad to have you here. But I would like for you to invite your mother um, now or the next time, so she can be aware of how you're utilizing your time um, at 12 o'clock in the morning, just about. And I'm not sure what country you're calling from, but Peninsula Fowler. You're welcome here. Young lady. Okay. Oh, how precious. Okay, so tomorrow we'll be utilizing transcending fear. So and then we'll go over self selfishness, break those strongholds and false pride. Hopefully we can get some brothers in here tomorrow in reference to addressing this false pride. But women can be holders of pride as well too. But that's like, since we have the masculine and feminine Brahma, good one. A good one. Oh, the false pride tomorrow. Well, all three of them are necessary: selfishness and transcending fear. But yeah, if you know of any brothers, you can pass it on. I'll make sure that I have the ability to figure out early when and where we're going to utilize this platform. If I'm not able to get a phone extension in the YouTube, then we'll just have to utilize one of the other. Uh, oh, Benicia Flowers. Well, good night, sweetie. Hopefully you can tune in tomorrow. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and hit it again for notifications so you can know to when I send out a pre notification that I would be on, and then hopefully you share it with your mother so she can come into the chat, and your father too if he's there. It would be good to have a family affair. And thank you for stopping by. And hope to see you again. Peace, blessings, and love to you. Okay. Yeah, all that good stuff. Okay, Venetia, a hour. Good night, sweetie. Okay. 11 years old. Um, now there was a reason for that because that was beautiful. That was beautiful. 11-year old. Okay. So, and then after that, we have just transcending duality, jealousy, vanity, egotism, and then that'll be it. And that'll take care of that series. And then the next series is all about Ubuntu. African culture, well, the West, they talk about democracy, but it's fake democracy. It's not even in their constitution or anything. They pretending to utilize democracy, but African culture, ancient culture, would actually utilize Ubuntu. So we're awakening to our own culture that would be able to maintain and sustain us in reference to us having reclaiming our way of thinking and our way of being and doing so we can be that change that we look for. So I'm going to say good night. And then I don't know, since tomorrow, oh, Redbird at indigenous. Oh, okay. So let me see. Well, if anybody had any questions, address concerns, if not, within the next 2 or 3 minutes, I will close this session. And I once again want to thank you all for being here and finding the time, the opportunity to make this lesson a possibility and that we gain some information. And I'm looking forward to implementing you all in on a phone call or a phone call or a video so we can be more interactive. Forgive me if anybody had put out a question or anything and I've overlooked it in the midst of my sharing. Sometimes I don't necessarily remember to look over, but it's like every time I did look over to see if anything was being addressed to me, it's like you were in your own deep little conversations among one another. So I just continue on. So well, as soon as I push to end stream and confirm, the video will be available again for those who might have missed something. And I just thought it was quite beautiful that the Divine Spirit allowed a little girl to come in at 11 years old. How precious is that? But I did ask her to make sure she bring her parents with her next time because it's like I don't know what time because she didn't answer my question in reference to what country or what state she was calling from. So it might not necessarily be that late where she is, but um, on my end, I don't want to be talking to an 11-year-old and not their parents not be aware of what's being said. So nevertheless. All right, ladies. May you all have a blessed, peaceful, wise rest. May you wake up refreshed, rejuvenated, revitalized, revitalized, and resurrected to some truth and give you the ability and the empowerment to apply and multiply. And may you continue to stay smothered and covered in the embrace of our everlasting, eternal, divine Mother Spirit of protection, provision, counsel, and comfort, and our everlasting Father Spirit, who is the life force and energy to make sure everything is confirmed and esteemed. So I salute. Good night. Mwah.